Hey everyone, my name is David Morcom, and I'm happily here to share with you a big passion of mine, how to make superfood elixirs. And the reason why I want to share this with you guys is I feel that coffee and black tea need to move over and share the limelight a little bit. These have given the big craze in Western society to increase productivity and cognition, to be able to go and get what we need done. But they do have costs, and there are consequences to that. So, taking caffeine is not just a free ride of energy. It is hard on your adrenals. It's producing lots of cortisol. And it's like whipping that horse. And if you keep on whipping that horse, it's going to eventually fail. So we want things that we can tonify and strengthen our adrenals, which is the battery pack to really adapt to this really chaotic world around us. So we don't want to drain the bank account further of caffeine daily, because it will. We want to do things that will put money into the bank for our long-term savings and vitality so we can flourish. And so I'm going to tell you how to do that right now. And so what is this elixir? And an elixir you could think of just, as a medicinal liquid that you can drink that brings you health, very simply. But we can break it down into a simple equation, okay? So an elixir equals, usually you have a tea as a base, or a liquid base of some sort. It can be hot water, for example, or it can be a nice tea, like I'll be going over in a second, so some non-caffeinated or caffeinated if you would like. Then we mix it with a medicinal extract. We have so many potent, beautiful extracts from the herbal world, from all the cultures of herbalism, Ayurveda and Chinese medicine and Western herbalism we can use for our health, and we want to get them in there as much as we can. And this is the point of the superfood elixirs that we're making, to get these in there, into your diet, into your regular life. And then we don't want to stop there. We want to combine it with a source of energy, of carbs, protein, and sometimes fat especially, to really give us that sustaining source of energy for long periods of time. So we're not just providing the medicinal benefit, the push to the system, we're providing the fuel for the long term as well. And we can be as creative as we want, making these different herbs and different nutrients and superfoods and functional foods all into one to make this elixir that we can start our day off instead of a caffeine, for example. And so come over here, I'm going to show you some of the herbs that we have right now to talk about these a little further. And so we're going to start off with some of the teas here. And I love teas more than anyone in the world in many ways. I have hundreds of different teas, and there's so many different types here that we can use. And so depending on what kind of tea, your preference, etc., is the one that you're going to choose. I have a nice pu'er right here. This pu'er is one that my friend gave me a long time ago, and this is aged for decades, actually. It turns into this beautiful brick that can be broken down and put into your tea. And it's fermented over long periods of time, so it has lots of B vitamins, lots of probiotics, and is very medicinal as it ages. It ages like wine here. And so we could use something like that. But again, I want to focus more on non-caffeinated ones. So, we could use a green tea, we can use a oolong, we could use some black teas, etc. But I'm trying to focus on some non-caffeinated ones. And these are some of my favorites here. We have Tulsi, or holy basil, from the Ayurvedic tradition, which is a holy plant, and it's good for stress reduction and anxiety, and gives you energy. That's what these adaptogens do here. They help you adapt to the world, so they normalize physiology here. And so this is a great one, it goes well with everything else, and it's a nice peppery base here. It's very similar to maybe a tea. And then we have some gynostemma here. This is another favorite of mine. These are adaptogens in leaf form. There's not that many of them. Most of them are in roots, actually. And so this gynostemma here is something that has the ginsenosides of ginseng, but it's a grass that grows in China, and it can be purchased for much, much cheaper. And what's cool about this is that it can be very, very sweet as well. Not very sweet, but there's a slight sweetness to it just naturally here. So you'll put a couple ounces here. You want this to be approximately at 180 degrees. So we'll let that come up here just a second for our base here. And this one actually you don't need it to be super hot. We want it to be a little hotter, usually around 170, 180 degrees here. We'll just let it soak here for a couple minutes while we talk about everything else. And usually with the gynosamin, for example, you don't want to over steep it because that actually makes it so it then extracts too much and can be bitter. And we can use other roots and things like that. I've got a nice ginseng, for example, which can use a nice base as well. So there's so many herbs, so many teas that we can use as bases. But for elixirs, I like to keep it pretty simple. A lot of times I like to just keep it as hot water. And so then we're going to move over here. There's lots of these actually superfood medicinal elixirs here. And these are my favorite class. And this is what we're really trying to get in here. And so this is some ceremonial grade cacao of the highest quality from Guatemala. This comes from a place that is very dear to my heart in Lake Atitlán. And his name is Keith. He's the cacao shaman here. And so this is high quality grade for ceremonial quality to open up the heart. Has more magnesium than any substance. Has 40 times the antioxidants that even blueberries. Has a lot of things that affect all the neurotransmitters and cannabinoids that make you feel good. And it comes in a little block. And this is different from the traditional cacao powder we usually have because it has the cacao butter still intact. And so if you're really wanting to, get some of this here, we can actually chop some of this up. But because this is so nice, I'm going to save this for my ceremony some other time. But, we have other types of ceremonial or just good quality cacao too. And this one comes from Parasol, which is just in town. It's a little oxidized right now. It's not even oxidized, just the fat has separated because it's a little older here. But, we're going to chop this up in a second for our medicinal liquid here. And so, going to other things, there's so many of these herbs. Some of my favorite here, we can start with some of the medicinal mushrooms like reishi, the immortal mushroom, or lion's mane. This helps increase brain-derived neurotropic factor and is helpful for actually increasing neurogenesis. And so this allows us to really replenish our neurons. Okay, this is an amazing substance that if you take daily can really reduce cognitive decline, increase cognition here. And so we have things like ashwagandha. This is the Indian ginseng, okay? It's more of a cooling, relaxing adaptogen to help you adapt to your world right here, to build the adrenals, to help balance your hormones. There's not much that ashwagandha does. It's one of my favorites here, especially for people that are wired and tired and more stressed out. This is a great one. But then for the other people that are kind of, needing more yang, needing more kind of stimulation and energy, we have maca root, which is Peruvian ginseng. It's actually a cruciferous vegetable, so it's amazing for hormones. That's what, its strength is. All these help you adapt to stress, but they all have different focuses. And so with this maca here, this is a Peruvian ginseng that can really, it tastes very nutty, it tastes good, and will give you lots of energy. We have mucuna here from Ayurveda that gives you the sexual stamina and potency. It's used in Parkinson, has a big source of dopamine, for example. So this is a nice thing to give a little boost to it. We have different anti-inflammatory herbs like turmeric and boswellia and things that we can use as well. So really you can be as creative as you want. I'm going to close here with one of my favorites is shilajit. And shilajit is a mineral-like substance that comes as a mix of plants and minerals that has been decayed over centuries, and it's collected from the Himalayas, and it has lots of humic and fulvic acids, and these things can help bind a lot of the toxins from our world, including glyphosate and many metals and things. But also, this same substance can help activate whatever else is in our elixir. So this makes it so we can absorb it better. And so it has a little smoky flavor too, so it gives a nice smokiness to whatever you add to it. So we can be as creative as we want. We can use tea as a base. We can use these adaptogenic elixirs. You're going to have more of these in the article below. If you want to look at the different categories, we have anti-inflammatories, we have high antioxidants, like things with lots of colors, and the turmeric and the cacao, for example. We have calmatives and relaxants like chamomile. We have digestive tonics like peppermint, etc. And we have all these adaptogens, which are the main root of really how to make some of these superfood elixirs. Because a definition of an adaptogen is something that you can take daily that doesn't cause an imbalance, that continues to strengthen and tonify your body here. Okay, so we've got the medicinal elixirs. This is the potent part of it, and then we've got the base, which is going to be a tea base a lot of times. Okay, and so we're going to move over here now, and we're going to talk about actually what makes a lot of the energy aspects of having some carbs, proteins, and fats to really sustain things, and also some things to spice it up to make it taste good at the end. So as far as proteins go, really using some kind of nut milk base is great. You can make this at home, like a cashew milk or an oat milk or an almond milk or something like that, or you can buy it from the store. You just want to make sure there's no carrageenan in it, because that's a thickener. It makes it seem like there's a lot of almonds in it, but it's really just thickener that's cheap and not good for you. So Khalifa is a good brand, for example. We also have collagen. This is my favorite thing because it doesn't taste like anything. It's a nice little white powder, and you can put it to anything, and it thickens things up a good bit. Okay, and so when it's thickened here, this will help stabilize the blood sugar. That is the point here. So we don't go on this up and down roller coaster. We're stabilized for very long periods of time. And then if we want, we can get a nice plain protein powder that won't kind of bias and change the flavor too much. This is another great thing from Terrasol that uses a combination of pea and rice proteins and many other things here. But this also changes the consistency. It thickens it up too. You may like that, you may not. So it's really up to you. Collagen, a little nut milk is great as a basis. And then if we want to add some more protein, we can add some nut butter itself into the Superfood Elixir, into a Vitamix, for example, into a NutriBullet, and that'll kind of mix it up. This has fat and the protein, that's why it's in between here. And we have coconut oil, for example. This is my favorite base. MCT oil is even better, which is a specific extract of that with these medium chain triglycerides that go directly into the mitochondria to produce energy in every cell of the body to optimize energy, cognition, and strength. So that's a great thing to put a tablespoon of. That's really what's going to stabilize and give you much longer lasting energy here. And we have some homemade ghee that my beloved made here, and you can add that into it as well. And then, as far as sweeteners go, there's lots of different things we can use. This is be considered a carb, for example. So we can use goji berries. That's a great thing to throw in there, and it gives a bunch of germanium and weird good enzymes and nutrients you're not getting from other places. But you also can use a variety of other sweeteners and things. And so, some of my favorites, we have a stevia extract. You can use this in drop form. You only need a couple drops, honestly. It's very, very potent. You also can get it in a more granulated form to put in there. There's also some monk fruit extract. This one has erythritol in it, and I'm not a big fan of that necessarily. It's better than some things, but you might want to get a pure monk fruit extract as well if you can find it. And these are all just kind of very low glycemic, and they're not affecting the blood sugar levels at all, really. They're not metabolized. So these are my favorite and the best in many ways, especially if you're trying to reduce sugar and carbs. But we have a lot of other options as well, and these are some new ones that I've been playing with here. Not really new ones, but this is mesquite here. I just got this in today, and I'm really excited to play with this more. And this comes from mesquite pods, and it's a nice low glycemic sweetener, but it has a little smokiness and sweetness that can add a certain flavor and profile to whatever elixir that you're making here. It goes really well with cacao, so we'll be using some of that today. Lucuma adds a nice caramelness to it, and it makes us very smooth and can kind of blend the other ingredients here. And so, those are examples of some, you could use some coconut, you used to use some honey or maple syrup and other things as well. I personally try to reduce my sugar as much, but, whatever goes for your creativity and for it to taste good and feel good inside your body. And cinnamon is another great, for as far as spices, if you want to sweeten something without the glycemic load, this helps sensitize your body to insulin, for example, so it is great. You can add a lot of cinnamon. I love adding cardamom, for example, vanilla extract. You can add a whole array of these spices as well for their medicinal and their taste. And then, the last thing here is just, a little thing of salt. We don't need much of it, but salt just kind of intensifies and just really helps with bring out the flavor and all the other, flavors and herbs that you're using. So that's a little info about all the things that we have. So just to summarize again, an elixir is something that you make for yourself or you buy, but if you make it yourself, it's going to be a lot cheaper. That's why I'm sharing this video with you, how to make these yourself every single day to fortify your life, to optimize your life and cognition. And to make this down into the equation again, it's a tea as a base or maybe hot water, and then we have a medicinal extract of a superfood. And this can be all the variety of the things that we have available today. You know, we can get things from all over the world. And then we combine that with carbs, protein, and fats, especially some protein and fats to stabilize our blood sugar all day long. So we're going to get into the kitchen right now. We're going to make one example for you just to show you how this is done. But again, endless creativity in how you put this all together for yourself. Okay, let's jump into it. And so we're going to do a couple things here. Okay, so one, we're going to just use this as a base. And so if the tea is actually kind of cooled down already, you know, this might be good if you're using something that has plastic in it. I'm not a fan of hot liquids in plastic, but it is an easier way to make these elixirs just because it can blend all the ingredients and make it nice and frothy and taste good. And so this is the gynostemma that we used earlier. It's a perfect temperature, and it also would be oversteeped if it was too high of a temperature, but it was a very low temperature, so it's fine. And so that's their base. That's considered a liquid there. And then in this case, you know, I really want to get some cacao going here, because this is my favorite one. And the cacao is a great base because it tastes good. It's where chocolate comes from, right? It's the Mayan superfood. And you know, all the other superfoods can be masked by it because it tastes so chocolatey. And so let's cut this up. And if you have a powder, the powder works fine as well because, you know, that doesn't have the butter, which is great. But then you can just add more coconut oil and things. I like the paste because it's just a more traditional way, and it's pretty great. Just this and a tea, and you're done. And that's a solid elixir just by itself. Just this. But you know, we're gonna make this even a little more fine. You know, as far as dosage here, you know, ceremonial dose is about 42 grams, but you know, you can do half of that, or even 10 to 15 grams on just a normal day to just give you a little boost here. And then, say we add some other additional things here. So, you know, it's kind of getting a little later in the day here, so I'm not going to go too crazy. So I will add some ashwagandha, because that's more of a calming, cooling, relaxing adaptogenic herb here. And, you know, a good 5 grams or so like that is going to be, could be plenty. Actually, you don't even need that. That's kind of a big dose. Okay, so you don't need much there. Different herbal extracts and there'll be different dosages. So you want to look at the instructions and, you know, that come with it, or research a little bit how much you need of each one. I know what these are, and you know, adaptogens are pretty safe, you know, but you want to just do your due diligence. As a lion's mane, I'm going to add a good tablespoon or so. You know, this is one of my favorites here. It's a little bitter. You don't want to add too much here. These actually look like the neurons. If you actually look at lion's mane, they look like the brain. It's pretty cool. And then we are going to add some nut milk here. So that will be good. And we don't necessarily need much here. And then we'll add in some collagen powder. This will give us a little more thickness, a little more of that protein, but again, we could add other additional types of protein and nuts, etc. as well, nut butters, protein powders. And then I love cardamom and cinnamon, so this is going to be the basis of the spices here that we're going to use. So you just do this to taste, so whatever you like and whatever you think is good here. And yeah, I love the cinnamon because I don't have to add as much sweetener here. And so we might add in some vanilla extract. This is one of my favorites as well. And then we're going to add in this new mesquite powder, as we talked about, which has this nice smoky taste, but it also is a little sweetener here. Okay, and so, you know, I do things just without measuring, but, you know, until you get a hang of things, you might measure things more to see what works and what doesn't, so you can recreate that for the future. And then, you know, as far as the sweetener goes, we're not going to do much, but I am going to just put 2 drops of the stevia extract because we don't need very much of that. And then I like to do just a little thing of salt just at the end, just to kind of make all the taste better. And so this is a nice base here. I'm not making it too hot. A lot of times I'll make it a little thicker because I don't want to make it too hot inside the NutriBullet. Then I'll add more hot water at the end so I get the frothiness that I want, but then also get it hot to how I like it here. But you can make these cold. You can make them during the summer and things as well here. So let's bring that here. Okay, and so let's do it. All right, and so we have this liquid here, and this is actually a pretty good, nice chocolatiness here, and you can just see that this is very chocolatey. You can see that this is the Cacao Superfood Elixir. Again, cacao is just the base. You can add whatever you want to your heart's desire to give it the effects and the potency and the medicinal value that you would like. And so thank you for joining me today and letting me share my passion with superfoods and how to make these elixirs. I hope you guys are passionate as I am as you get to start implementing this into your life and get all the benefits to live vibrantly and to optimize your level of health on all levels. And so cheers to all of you at home, and I'll talk to you guys next time.